Good. So we saw the difference between data, information, and knowledge. Now we're going to see a very important thing that usually we don't teach in technical schools, which is the narratives. What are narratives and what are stories? So let's go with it. So I once asked a friend, storyteller of mine. His job is to be a storyteller, and she gets paid for it. So what's the difference between data, stories, and narratives? And this is what she told me. Narratives are a set of beliefs, and the stories are the stories we tell to advance the narratives. So if we have a fable or a tale, the fable itself or the tale is the story. And the moral of the story, that's the narrative. And what is the role of data here? Well, the role of data is to give credibility to the story. And so the data reflects and gives credibility. The stories, when a human consumes a story, the brain releases this powerful chemical called oxytocin. And that's why humans love stories. And narratives are grounded in beliefs, so in the culture and the beliefs of the culture we live in. Right, so this is the relationship. And what does this mean? Does it mean that if you make a chart and this chart has no story or no narrative, first, if it has no story, it means humans will not tell it to each other, it will not be remembered. So if you want your chart to be remembered, it better have a story. And two is that if your chart does not have a narrative, it means it does not have a purpose. If your chart doesn't advance any goal or objective of yours, it means that is a chart without a purpose, right? So make a chart with a purpose. Right. And so can we fill the gaps now? What are the roles of data relating to the story? So as we saw, the job of the data in a story is to lend credibility to the story. And what is the job of the story towards the narrative? The job of the story towards the narrative is to advance the narrative. Does this make sense? Good. Exercise. Here you have a famous visual from the Brexit days. And can you identify the data, the story, and the narrative in this chart? I give you 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, time's up. So, what is the data here? Let's start with the data. So, to me, the data is very clear. What lends credibility to this story, even though later it was found to be a complete lie? It's the figure there, 350 million, right? So that's, to me, the data. What is the story? Well, the story is that we send money outside our country, right? And what is the narrative here? Here you have it. Let's take back control, right? Right. And finally, here you have a typical thing in advertisement called call to action. Yes. Okay. Very good.